Hello, my name is Nicholas Swark. I am part of the Bison Fund. I like to look at stocks on the side. Today I'm making this video kind of to just describe the multiples approach. So the multiples approach is one valuation method that looks at the historical along with relative performance of a stock. So this video, the objectives of this is going to be very high level, but it's going to be very useful information. We're going to be looking at determining a stock's upside or downside based upon the relative and historical performance. We're going to learn how to efficiently use Bloomberg for historical and relative comparisons. And then we're going to look at some Excel functions to gain some expertise in that area. So the historical multiples, those are based upon 4 different metrics: enterprise value to EBITDA, enterprise value to EBIT, enterprise value to sales, and then price to earnings ratio. We look at the past 5 years and the results, and then we focus on the median for each metric. The relative valuation, now this is where you choose 6 to 10 different peers or competitors. Now it's very important because the accuracy of this analysis is based upon who you choose. So if you choose companies that are not related or not in the same industry, you're going to get skewed results. So it's very important to choose competitors and peers that are very similar. The ratios being analyzed and compared are EV to EBITDA, EV to EBIT, EV to sales, PE ratio, along with price to free cash flow. We're going to focus on these three though, for the most part. The Excel functions is going to be useful for when you compute the different values when you're doing a multiples approach. I'll have a template that you can follow too if you have any more questions to look at the actual functions. We're going to be utilizing the max percentile to find the 75th percentile, median to find the median result, percentile again to find the 25th, along with the min. Now keep in mind, we're going to be focusing on the median result. So once we have all our data, if we have our median ratio, if we have the current EBITDA, current EBIT, current sales, along with the net debt and shares outstanding, we can use these formulas. If you want to take a screenshot or look at this, just take note of this screen right here. It's very useful. We can figure out the enterprise value, and then from there we can deduct the net debt, and then from that, based upon that, that's the equity value. Divide that by shares outstanding, and you can find the intrinsic stock price along with the upside or downside. So let's get started. So the first thing you want to do when you're looking at this is you want to go to Bloomberg. Okay, Bloomberg, you can also use 10Ks, sec.gov. I'm using Bloomberg just because it's the most efficiently and we have access to it. So what you're going to do is you're going to start off by typing out the company you want. Okay, so we're going to look at Qualys. We're going to look at the historical performance first. So we're going to go to financial analysis. Okay, and then from there we are going to be going to custom. All right, and I already made one kind of pre-made a little bit, but we're going to be making a template. So in this case, if you look here, I basically have EV to EBITDA, EV to EBIT, EV to sales, and then PE ratio. Now, let's just say, for example, you want shares outstanding. Simply type shares outstanding, you can get that data. Let's say, for example, you want, the good one is debt. There's a formula for it. Let's say, for example, you want enterprise value. There's a formula for that too. Okay, easy. But we are going to be mainly focusing on. These 4. Okay, and we're going back the past 5 years. So we have room for 2020. We have the results for 2020 because it's 2021. Because this company released their 10K just a couple weeks ago. So we're going to go back to 2016, not 2015. So we're going to change the number of periods to 8. Oops. Let's go back. We're going to change the number of periods. Go back to, I'm sorry, it's just going to, we're going to go back here. We're going to change this value to 8. Okay. So now we have the past 5 years along with the current. What we're going to do now is we're going to export this to Excel. Okay. And then what you're going to do there is you're just going to copy this data, and I have a nice template. As long as you copy the past 5 years along with the future year. I'm using remote connection, so I have to click confirm. I'll go to our Excel document, go here, and we're just going to paste that. Okay, I'm going to paste everything for you. Okay. Next, you're going to analyze it. So if you remember, on the presentation, I had an Excel document of all the different formulas we use. Well, this is where it comes in handy, because we're going to be looking at the mean, the max, 75th percentile, 25th percentile, along with the min for each of these different categories. So I'll just give an example. Let's say you want to find the max, okay? It's going to be the max of the EV to EBITDA, okay? Let's say for EV to EBIT, the max is going to be the max of EV to EBIT, okay? EV to sales, and then price earning ratio, okay? And then you're going to use those follow that same process and use the equations that I gave you on the presentation. The one that was right here, right there. All right, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to analyze the relative valuation, okay? So I'm going to go back to Bloomberg. I'm going to close out of here, and then we're going to be looking at, let's go back to Qualis. So QLS, okay? This time we're going to be doing something called the relative valuation. So the relative valuation is down here. Okay. And in this case, let's say you have a list of companies. I have my companies already chosen, but let's say you didn't. So to add companies to your list, we're going to go to Settings, Edit and Share Comps, and then here you can have a different list, okay? So let's say, for example, we're just going to do something fun. Let's add one. Let's call this one just for fun. Just for fun, okay? Okay. Comps. Go back. Let's go to let's say, for example, we want to look at APOG renewal. Okay, let's say, for example, we want to add Microsoft, right? Okay, boom. Let's say, for example, we want to add Apple. Boom. Let's say you want to add Google, right? Oops. Okay, boom. And you want to delete these top 3. So in this case, we're going to compare Microsoft to Apple to Alphabet or Google. We're going to save this as just for fun. Save that. And then we're going to go back now. Okay, so we're going to look at just for fun. So in this case, if you look here, we're going to go to Settings, go to just for fun, and then we're going to set this as make this default. Okay, so now, if you look here, okay, so in this case, you have to include the company you're trying to analyze. So in this case, if you look here, I'm comparing it to Microsoft, Apple, and Alphabet. Okay, and then from that, you can have different categories. In this case, what we want to analyze is we want to analyze enterprise value, right? EV to EBITDA. Okay. And then we also want to look at EV to EBIT. Okay, correct. And then you want to look at EV to sales. Okay. And then you also want to look at EV, and you also want to look at the price to earning ratio. Okay. And then you also want to look at price to free cash flow. Okay. All right. And so now the cool thing is we're looking at the best to EBITDA. We're looking at EV to EBIT, all our metrics, and we're comparing them to Apple, Microsoft, and Alphabet. So the cool thing is it makes it really easy instead of having to look up like 1,000 different ratios. Bloomberg makes it nice where it's all on one simple chart. So with that being said, I already had a don't say I already have one made prior to allow us to easily figure out our multiple charts. So what we have is let's go back here. I made one already. It's the same thing, but this time we're going to go to settings, and we're going to be actually using a list of competitors that I found for this company. Okay, and then we're going to go set as default. Okay, so now I have a list of competitors that I chose, and we're going to compare that. So then what we're going to do is we're going to go to settings, and then we're going to go to export Excel. Okay, once it's complete, it's going to open. And here you have all your data. So then once you have that, we don't want to include qualities, but we want to include everything else. I'm just going to copy that. Click confirm because I'm using remote connection. And then from there, you are going to be going down to your Excel and then simply pasting that data right there. And then obviously, as you know, when there's an NA, that simply means that the data wasn't copied or that the data wasn't there. So if you look here, we have NA. We have NA right there. That is simply because go here. There is no data. It's not reported for some reason, and that happens. If it's not there, don't freak out. It's okay. Once you do that, using the formulas that I showed you on that presentation, you're going to do the same exact thing, and you're going to be looking at the max of EV to EBITDA, EV to EBIT, EV to sales, price, earnings, and then repeat that. So here's EV to EBITDA, looking at the max. Here's EV to sales, looking at the max, and then here's price earnings, looking at the max. And once you have that, then you're going to do the same thing for the 75th percentile, mean, median, 25th, and then min. It takes a little bit, but if you have the template, you can simply copy and paste that into here. Just make sure you know how it works. Once you do that, then this is just, I'm looking at the historical multiple. So now we want to figure out what's the stock price, okay? Now this is where we use the formulas that were on this slide. Okay, so we know what's the EBITDA, what's the EBIT, and what's the sales. So if we go back to our Bloomberg, I'm going to keep this open just so we can have a nicer reference. Okay, let's go back to Qualisys. We're going to go to FA. Going to go to custom just for the heck of it, you know. Let's look at let's go to create custom mode. That is great. We're going to go to what's their net debt, right? We want to know what's their net debt, what's their shares outstanding, what's their EBITDA, what's their EBIT, and then what's their sales. And best, this is Bloomberg estimate sales. Okay, with that information, we found that their current sales are 388.2. Okay, their EBIT is 96.7. Their EBITDA is 146.2. Shares outstanding are 39.3. And then their net debt is negative 298.6, which is right there. From that, we can multiply their EBITDA with their corresponding median result for EV to EBITDA ratio, which is 27.96. One second here, 27.96. Their EV to EBIT corresponding ratio based on the historical approach is 42.33. If you look here, EV to EBIT, and then their EV to sales, their historical median, if you look here, EV to sales, it's going to be 9.05. From that, you simply multiply those together to find enterprise value. Equity value is simply enterprise value minus that by the net debt. Target price is simply equity value, divide that by shares outstanding. And the upside or downside is simply target price, divide that by current price, minus that by 1 as a percent. Repeat, for the relative, you do the exact same thing. You figure out EBITDA, EBIT sales, same exact thing from before. In this case though, when we do a relative approach, we found the median multiple to be 17.27 for EV to EBITDA, 29.37 for EV to EBIT, and then 5.24 for EV to sales. Okay. With that, we can find the enterprise value. We can deduct the net debt to find equity value, divide the equity value by the shares outstanding, and then from that, we can figure out what's the upside or downside, which is the target price, divide that by current price, minus that by 1. So overall, that's the multiples approach. To simplify things first, you want to look at, for the historical, 4 different ratios: EV to EBITDA, EV to EBIT, EV to sales, PE ratio. We're going to be analyzing the top 3, the EV to EBITDA, EV to EBIT, and then EV to sales. From that, figure out what's the median result for the past 5 years, and use that down here to compute the enterprise value, deduct net debt to find equity value, and then from there you can find the intrinsic value and upside and downside. Same exact concept for the relative valuation. The only difference is, instead of using the historical data, you are now going to be looking at the current ratios in relativity to their competitors. So in this case, I'm looking at Norton. So Qualys is like a security company. I'm looking at Norton, Dynatrace, Palo Alto, Trend Micro, VMware, Fortinet, Cisco, and then from that, I'm looking at what's the current ratios of each of those, and then I'm figuring out what's the median ratio of those companies, and then from that, I can use the median result for EBITDA, EV to EBITDA, EV to EBIT, EV to sales to figure out enterprise value, equity value, target price, along with the upside or downside. Once you have that, you can figure out what the share price is, what it currently should be, and then find the upside and downside to see if this is a worthy investment. So if you look in historically, the target price has an upside, which is a good thing. However, if you look at the relative, actually they have a slight downside for their EV to sales. If you look at in relative to their peers though, Qualys is actually trading at higher value than what it's worth, which is something that we should be concerned about, that or we didn't choose a good peer group. So it's just a nice way to see, what's the stock trading at today and is it a valuable investment? Now, of course, you want to also include like DCFs, Monte Carlo simulations, Ben Graham formulas, other valuation methods to kind of support this, but this is a nice approach to kind of give you more of a how is their performance compared to their peers, and then what's their stock, what should their stock price be in relativity. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. If you got something out of it, just thumbs up. But anyways, you guys have a good day.